you guys want to talk about?
All right. Hello, all you sports fans out there in podcast land, and welcome once again to another edition of Babbling Brooks, your new favorite podcast, where I, your host Brooks, try to bring you some of today's sports news with just a little twist of my point of view. Happy Hump Day, everybody. Hope you're having a wonderful Wednesday. It's nice and sunny here in the ATL. Slightly warming up, hopefully just like the Hawks season through this final home stretch that is upcoming. NBA season starting back up tomorrow after an all-star break. Of course, the Hawks back in action on Friday with the Raptors in town from Toronto and in the Atlanta area on your antenna. Can watch it on channel 17, Peachtree TV. Not a promo, but it could be. If they wanted to pay me, I would take that money. For real. Anyway, speaking of take that money, everybody's like, what is going on with NBA All-Star Game? I guess they're expecting it to be a serious game. It's not going to happen. It's never been that serious. And as time goes on and social media and technology have like revolutionized basically everything, and one thing they changed is the players don't necessarily need the All-Star Game the way they used to. And yeah, I would love to see some defense played. But shit, have you watched like regular NBA? The defense ain't quite the same anyway. And some people say it's, they're actually calling less fouls. I feel like the way they call fouls has discouraged defense. I've also seen some interesting stuff talking about like spacing, which makes sense because teams, thanks to Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, them Splash Brothers going off, everybody's shooting more threes overall, on average, whatever, than historically has been the case. So when that happens, when you've got even in the Hawks case, look at our second, maybe backup center, Onyeka Okongwu. He started hitting some threes. Nikola, the Joker out there, he can hit some threes. Like, it's a different game than it used to be. So even when you got you got players 1 through 5 out there can potentially hit a 3-pointer. Not all of them, obviously, but like everybody, at least some of them at every position can hit threes. It just changes how the defense operates, changes how you have to guard people. Where everybody is covering more space, there are going to be what appear to be lapses in defense because you can't cover the entire court. Not with just 5 dudes. Even though, it's 5-on-5, you should be technically evenly matched. But these guys are athletic on another level. I feel like there's even more and more than there used to be. There's always been a few, and they've always been the best in the world. But like now, it's just like you got the rest of the world getting better too, bringing more of the best of the world to the best of the world. So it's tough. And in some ways, you can't blame the guys. You're not wanting to, like, get hurt in an all-star game. They don't want to get hurt ever. Shit, who does? I don't. It's not pleasant. But it just, you'd like to see a little more effort. I think in this all-star game, there was 3 total fouls, 3 blocks. I got excited. Maybe there'd be some defense. Steph Curry, remember, he had a block early on. I'll be honest, full disclosure, I only watched the first half. I was already starting to get tired, and I was like, man, I'm not gonna fight myself to stay awake just to watch, this game. I could always watch highlights. I stayed up and watched most of the Saturday night stuff. I was more excited about the Saturday night stuff. Trae Young, almost, being second place in both the skills competition and especially, the one that really focused him. He's hitting them 3-pointers. Second to only Dame Lillard in the starry NBA 3-point contest. I think it's weird if like Starry try to go for Sprite, take some of their share of the market there, and then also like try to not be openly known as Pepsi. I was confused at first. I'm like, what is this? I'm like, oh, it's the Sierra Mist replacement. When they started showing up, was it last year or the year before? But it was really cool to see Trae almost get that. And while Trae did not, didn't get a lot of much of a chance to do anything in this All-Star game that his team won, 211-86. He had the most assists, on the East at least. Tied with Scotty Barnes had one. No, sorry. He had the most assists. I was looking at the wrong category. I was like, wait, I swore I heard that. Most assists on the East. He had 7 assists in only 14 minutes, which is the least amount of time anybody on the East played. And, 2 of 6, 1 of 4 downtown. 3 rebounds, I guess there wasn't a lot of fighting for the rebounds. Only has 5 points, but kind of, the 7 assists is nice, but at the same time, they're kind of easy to get assists when nobody's guards. So you pass it to somebody, they're going to score. He did have that really cool, kind of the viral, moment where he sort of nutbagged Kevin Durant. Seeing a lot of the old picture of KD with when he was still with the Thunder with a young Trae Young, who was, of course, from Oklahoma City area, just opened up, I believe, a community center of some sort up there. So it's cool to see him giving back to his community. And district game got wild. Leading scorer of Towns just ends up somehow with 50 points. Which Draymond Green had some jokes about that. SGA for the Thunder, the leading starter, 31 points. But it was Luka did, he had 7 points and he played 9 more minutes than Trae. Same assists, more rebounds, but he took a ridiculous. I think it was him that took that full court shot when there was still plenty of time left in the quarter to the half, just getting silly. Because I thought for sure, honestly, looking at these lineups, you got Kevin Durant, LeBron James, the Joker, Steph Curry. Steph Curry coming off the bench, but all these guys on the same team. You also got Devin Booker, Anthony Davis, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Anthony Edwards. And I thought this team's going to win. This level of talent, they're going to win. They got stomped, kind of. It's hard to say they got, believe a team could get stomped when they had 186 points. The East just went off. Dame was just, hitting all kinds of threes. He took 23 threes in 28 minutes. He had 11 of them. He's up with 39 points to lead his team. Halliburton, the hometown hero in this case, pretty damn good from the field. Hit 10 threes, only one less than Dame, and did it in 11 less shots. He was feeling it. 10 of 14 from downtown for 32 points. Jaylen Brown, of course, the only All-Star in this year. First All-Star since 2017 to enter the dunk contest. He got a very, felt like an inflated score on that last one. Of course, he had the dunk where he jumped over a sitting guy that's my height. Sitting down is 3 foot. But how about MCclung, kid from almost my hometown? He is from Gate City, Virginia. I am from Bristol, Virginia. As far as I know, there's not really been any NBA players even from my hometown. I think I saw one listed from the 50s or 60s. I can't remember the name. But we've had football players from that general area. Because my hometown, not a big city, so sometimes you include the country areas around it, going out to the coal fields. I think my dad sold a car to one of the Jones brothers. There was not Julio. Thomas, I can't remember their names. Julius. So it threw me off. Because I started thinking Julio. I was like, that's not right. No, it was Julius and Thomas Jones that were from, I think it was Big Stone Gap. I saw Heath Miller, future tight end for the Pittsburgh Steelers, destroy my high school football team as a quarterback out of Honaker, Virginia. Billy Wagner almost went in the Hall of Fame. He wasn't too far off. Probably going to go in the Hall of Fame in baseball. Great closer, especially known for with the Houston Astros. Also spent some time with the Bravos. He's born in the same town that my family's from, Marion, Virginia. Played ball in Tazewell. So I remember reading about him a lot in the local paper growing up. So it'd be cool to see him go into the Hall of Fame. Player that I was a senior when I was a freshman. Dated a girl that was in my class. I remember. I didn't know him well personally. I think he's a high school coach now for my alma mater, John Battle. Jimmy Gobble spent some time with the Royals a few years back. And there was another guy, there was a Kevin Baker, I think, that played at my school and also for the crosstown rival Virginia High. And there was a Giants player, Ahmed Bradshaw, from like an hour probably away. I think he was near from Bluefield. I'm trying to think, there was some other, but we've not really had much basketball, so kind of cool seeing Matt McClung, Gate City. It's about probably a 20 to 30 minute drive, I would say. Not a drive earlier, made probably more than once or twice, but from where I'm from. Bristol's a bigger city, Gate City kind of more out there a little bit. Not too far from the Carter family fold, where June Carter Cash, all that family came from. The first country music family, of course, walked into Bristol, went to Bristol, recorded the first country sessions there with Jimmy Rogers, and apparently Johnny Cash's last performance ever was pretty close to Gate City over there in Hilton's, Virginia, but not quite Gate City. But Matt McClung, man, it was cool to see him bring it like that. Still kind of surprised nobody's giving this kid a chance. Because, yeah, he can dunk, but that's not all. And you look at his stats in the G League, he's putting up stats. And, yeah, it's the G League. But it's, the next thing below the NBA. And that's a pretty damn good game. I'm going to try to go see him if he doesn't get called up. If he's still a member of the Osceola Magic when they come here to play the College Park Skyhawks, I might have to go to my first G League game, y'all. But them dunks was nice. That last one, dunking over Shaq. And yeah, Shaq kind of been over a little bit, not too much. But, he didn't have to, a lot of times in that situation, guys will have to use, the other guy for support. To push on a little bit. He didn't have to push off Shaq at all. And you can see, they showed Jaylen Brown, like I said, it felt his score for his dunk in that round was a little inflated. But they were showing his face when Matt McClung, when he dunked over Shaq, gave Shaq a custom Matt McClung jersey, repping Gate City, his hometown. And Jaylen Brown, I feel like he said, it's over. I'm not an expert lip reader, but it was something along those lines. You could see it in his face. He knew Matt McClung had just won that. So a lot of people still saying the dunk contest needs to be redone. I don't think, you don't need to get too crazy. It's unless you just want to try to invite, find a way to get the big stars in there. It's just not the same to be known as the best dunker anymore in the world anymore. It's not as exciting for these guys. Sort of like I mentioned, about the All-Star game earlier. These players do not need this All-Star game. They do not need this All-Star weekend in the same way they did in the 80s and the 90s. And even the early 2000s. Because everyone has Instagram and Twitter. A lot of them probably have TikToks. I don't know, because I refuse to get on TikTok. But they have ways of getting their name out there. They are out there all the time. It used to be, back in the old days, especially maybe a team from a small market or a young player, you want to make yourself known to the world, you have a stage. It's the All-Star weekend. You shoot a threes really well. You make an amazing dunk. You could catapult yourself into the conversation. But that's not there. Because now every single day, constantly throughout the day, if you feel like it, if you want to, you can insert yourself into the conversation and make it your own conversation. So these players do not need the game anymore. And, they need. It's good that they're good at the game. That helps them get followers. But they don't need these viral moments the same way, because they are their own brand every single day. And even playing Oklahoma City, SGA's got followers after followers. People watching him, as they should. The talent these guys have is incredible. And it gets me excited because Matt McClung, and he wouldn't commit to a third one because he's probably I'm already kind of lumped in as just a dunker, and he knows he can do more. The Hawks make some moves. We had some, time, because now I wouldn't say do it now. Because we don't even, I think A.J. Griffin should be playing. He's not even playing. I'm talking about signing Daniel House Jr. You can play some D, but still, it's kind of I still don't get. I was talking at work to somebody the other day. I was like, "What does the NBA have against the Griffin family firing Adrian Griffin despite the winning record for his team? Surprising, apparently, even Doc Rivers, who replaced him. I mean, Adrian Griffin was supposed to be coaching the Eastern Conference team in this All-Star game, but instead it was his staff plus Doc Rivers. Which is fun. Joe Prunty, back-to-back years, Joe Prunty has been named an interim coach only to be replaced after 1 or 2 games in the season. Back-to-back seasons, just kind of wild. He's like, at 2 years, he's like, I'm going to be a coach. Which maybe this time he maybe knew something was going on. With the Hawks, though, you would have felt like they would have just wrote it out. Felt weird that they brought in Quinn Snyder that quickly. Still not sure how I feel. We'll see how it works out with that move. I don't know at this point who's to blame for how things have gone. This is the part where we'll segue to talking about the Hawks. Kind of look, some thoughts about the second half of the season. Because, there wasn't a lot to talk about the All-Star game. There's fun moments, always going to be. But I feel like the NBA has kind of took a lot of, they've taken some defense out of the game anyway. Like, when it comes to day-to-day games. So, what do they expect? But you definitely tell, Adam Silver disappointed. But either way, the Hawks, it's been, kind of a couple years. Ever since they went to the conference finals. Maybe if Trae doesn't get hurt and DeAndre Hunter get hurt, maybe they go to the NBA finals against the Suns that year. We weren't that far away from beating the eventual champion, the Bucks. And just since then, like Nate McMillan took over for Lloyd Pierce that year and just had a couple mid sort of years. Now, Nate McMillan gone, you got Quinn Snyder in, and now it seems like we're worse than mid. And we're being like, was it last year? Almost the entire year, we were like 1 game above or 1 game below 500. And damn, now, I was complaining about it. Because it's like, come on, this should be better than a mid team. Giving up 3 first-round picks for DeJounte Murray and what seemed like it would be a cool pairing. And now, we're begging for mid. We're on the low end. Some, like, dirt weed, they call it. That's where we're at now. 24-31, 7 games below 500. Been sitting at the 10 seed what feels like all season at this point. At least the last couple months, pretty damn consistent. 2 games behind the Chicago Bulls, who of course beat us at home right before the break. Before Charlotte and lost another one. 6 games behind the 8 seed Orlando Magic and the 7 seed Miami Heat. And the 6 seed, which is where I'd love to be, because that 6 seed you don't have to fight. You don't have to play a playing game to get in the playoffs. A 6 seed, you are 100% in the playoffs. It'd be really nice at least to get to that 7-8. Specifically, preferably the 7 because you get a home game. So you get that win or you have at least you win once and you get in. Right now, we'd have to beat the Bulls in Chicago and then go on the road somewhere in Florida to either take on the Heat or the Magic. And then we'd have to beat one of those teams just to get a chance to take on this Boston Celtics team, which if they're healthy, it's hard to see them losing in the East. It really is. As much as I do not want to see the Celtics in the finals, that Porzingis move, like, just the score they can do. You got Jason Tatum potentially playing at an MVP level. Definitely in the MVP consideration. Joel Embiid seemed like he was going to lock it up, and now he's out until the playoffs at least. So in that case, I feel like the Sixers are going to fall. They're number 5 right now. 10.5 behind Boston. 8.5 ahead of it Hawks. The Pacers at number 6 right now. 6.5 ahead of the Hawks. And I feel like the Pacers, as Pascal Siakam, they're able to work him in more. Him and Tyrese Halliburton and the rest of the guys become more familiar with each other. I see them moving up and passing Philly. They'll probably be that 5th team. Right now, Boston at top, obviously. Cleveland 6 games behind them It was close. It doesn't seem like all that long ago. Milwaukee. Now Milwaukee has fallen to third. They're 8.5 behind Boston. New York, the Knicks made some moves. Getting Anobi, a couple other guys from Toronto. Shoring up a couple other trades, kind of shoring up that bench. The other Bogdanovich, Alec Burks. So they're a dangerous team. It feels like, it'll be like the top 5 once Philadelphia, India, I feel like Philly and India are going to switch probably the next week or so. And that top 5 is going to feel kind of locked up. Then 6 through 10 for the questions. Technically, there's enough time for the Nets and the Raptors, the Hornets. Not the Hornets, but, the Nets and the Raptors only, are within 5 games of the Hawks. The Nets only 2.5 behind them. So the Hawks got to be careful. Or, go from complaining about being in the play-in to just being nowhere. So I guess if we're going to lose, this will be the year. This is, I think, the last year for a couple of years that the Hawks had their own draft pick. But, but the thing is, unless you just take everyone out, and NBA's not going to allow that, you just totally tank, it just wouldn't be a good enough pick. Because you look at, unless you get yourself just in the lottery and hope that small percentage works out and you end up with a high pick, you don't really want to hedge your future on that. A lot of people saying the Hawks could blow it all up this offseason. I wouldn't be surprised. And I feel like especially if they don't at least get into the playoffs and make a little bit of noise. Not saying they have to win a series, but it would be very helpful if they want to keep the team together. I already think there's a good chance Clint Capella gets moved on from. Onyeka Okongwu showing a lot of development, doing things that Clint can't do, like hit some threes. Not going to be as good inside as Clint at his best yet, but he's getting there. And Clint, you could say, not that he's he ain't washed by any stretch of the imagination, but he's on probably the beginning of his downward turn of his career. Just that's usually how it goes age-wise, but still definitely has some years in him. And it feels like Onyeka Okongwu is just going to get paid way too much to be a backup next year with the increase due in his contract. And DeAndre Hunter, hopefully we can see what he can do. Hopefully we get him healthy. It's been really nice for the Hawks, and that's, I think, one thing that really set their season off. The injuries they've had, of course, right now, Okongwu and Capella both hurt. There's a chance. I haven't read any updates, but I'm assuming they haven't really practiced, so it won't start till today, tomorrow. Won't be any later on today, and then going into tomorrow maybe. And Friday, of course, being the day of the game. So it'll be the injury report there. We'll have an idea of what's going on. I know that Okongwu is right on, they said 7 to 10. We're right in the middle of that, getting close to 10, so he should be reevaluated, see what happens with him soon, because it was just a toe sprain, so he should be good. But sometimes those things are weird, and it's helpful that the Hawks had the break when they did, because Capella also, he was due to return to practice, I guess now, so he should, so if his was a left adductor or whatever the hell that is, and if it responds well to practice, he could be back. Because it feels like if the Hawks are going to do anything, we need to have at least one of those dudes healthy. Because no offense to Bruno Fernando, but he's just not the guy. He's not the answer. And it's not all on him. Because, when you're out of the rotation for so long, it can be tough to just reinsert. Especially when you don't have the same connection with Trae Young and DeJounte Murray that Clint Capella, especially with Trae and Onyeka Okongwu have. Hopefully we can get those guys back. Hopefully it'll be nice if we can see an extended period of time where we have both Jalen Johnson and DeAndre Hunter. Of course, Jalen Johnson still looking like he could be most improved player, kind of picking up mostly where he left off. But, man, before his injury, too, was amazing. I feel like he was the front runner for most improved player before the injury. And then before he comes back, DeAndre Hunter's out. So when Jalen Johnson comes back, you're still short DeAndre Hunter. Because those guys, not only can they both score, especially Jalen, but DeAndre can just go off for 20 like that. You're not going to get 20 from him usually on a night-to-night basis, but that's not his main role. I'd like to see more rebounds from him, but even outside of that, he does a lot of stuff that doesn't show up on the stat sheet, just defense-wise. Like him and Jalen Johnson, there's more of that, energy. Jalen Johnson he has length and energy, so that's a nice combination to have. So he can cover a lot of ground and probably one of our best defenders. Definitely one of our best defenders at his best. He has some lapses, but who doesn't? It's the modern NBA. But he, can block shots with that length. He's even in a smaller lineup. Someone you could put at the 5 can help out at center, more of a power forward. And then DeAndre Hunter is up good, good. He's like a 6'8". So you have him at small forward. You got some good size there. See if he probably works his way back into the starting lineup, I would think. Just depending on how Saddiq Bey does. Saddiq Bey does a great job off the bench, and he's done a pretty solid job filling in as a starter. Because even if he doesn't have big scoring games, he's getting pretty good rebounds consistently. So fighting for those. So that's a nice combo to have. The 3-and-D of DeAndre Hunter and, of course, Saddiq Bey. Like, they both can go off for points, can hit threes, but the threes, especially from Saddiq, not quite as good lately as they were at other points of the year. But hopefully everybody's going to come out the break, get some good vibes going, play some defense. Let's see who we got coming up. The first game, like I said, the Raptors are in town on Friday. Then on Sunday, the Magic are in town. And the Jazz coming to town. So chance for the Hawks. These are 3 winnable games. The Raptors, of course, a few games behind us. The Magic, a few games ahead of us. But not like a team that it feels like the Hawks at their best can't handle. But the problem with the Hawks is they haven't been playing at their best consistently. And, a lot of that is the injuries, but some of it just, I don't know. Some of it I think is coach. I still question whether Quinn Snyder was the right hire. Don't know. We'll see. Maybe that's just my anti-Jazz bias, though. So 3 games at home that are very winnable. I think I might try to go to the Tuesday game. A chance to see former Hawk John Collins, who I enjoyed with his time with the Hawks. Wish they could have figured out a way to work it out with him, especially considering how it, that we got basically just nothing for him, a second-round pick. Didn't like that. And the Hawks will close out the month going against the Nets. A couple games behind us. Of course, they surprised a lot of people. Gave him an extension last year, and then all the trade, they traded away everybody. It felt like it was going to be a kind of a rebuilding year, and they've been decent, not great, but decent. I mean, behind us, they're not like good decent, but consider you're calling it like a rebuilding year. But Kyle Bridges has been a pleasant surprise, but I guess not much else. And then, it felt like weird for them to move on from Jock Vaughn. Like, it's kind of like, okay, why not just wait? See what he does the rest of the year, because they've shown some potential. It's like, what do you expect? You trade away KD, Kyrie, James Harden all at once. You got Ben Simmons, who's barely played the last couple of years, working his way back in. It's like, I don't know, man. What'd you expect? So that felt kind of weird. But also, it feels like it gives, these are 4 games the Hawks could win. It feels like we need that. Like a 4-game winning streak coming up All-Star break would be a great way to set the tone. And 3 of these games we definitely should win. Even up there in Brooklyn. Even if Jay-Z's there, we should beat the Nets where they're at right now. Especially when we can get one or both of our centers back. Because that's key. It's going to be tough going up against them without either Onyeka Okongwu or Clint Capella. Preferably, it'd be really nice we can get both of them back at least within the next couple of games. No injury report yet for the Raptors game. But, come out, definitely have to beat the Raptors coming out the break. No offense to them. We can't let them get their 20th win on our home court. This needs to be, these 4 games are going to be important. How we finish out February could very well impact how we finish the season as a team, these Hawks. Because we need to gain some ground. The 10, sitting there precariously on the 10th seed is not where you want to be. Yeah, it means we would still get a chance to get into the playoffs, but that's a real uphill climb you don't want to have to put yourself through if you ain't got to. Where you have to, like I said, win on the road twice just to get the chance to be the 8th seed and take on Boston. Not saying that, Cleveland's not a scary team or whoever ends up at 2nd. But it'd be nice if you at least get to the 7th seed. Or maybe you get to the 6th seed so you don't have to do that, worry about traveling and fighting. Even if it's a home game, you don't have to worry about fighting to get into the playoffs. So that could be nice because, but then there's also Boston. If there's an injury to Porzingis, which has happened a lot, that could totally change it because they still got Tatum and Brown. But I feel like it's Porzingis' like the extra scoring and the defense that he provides that kind of puts them over the edge and makes them a team you really don't want to face. But with Tatum and Brown on their own, especially Jaylen Brown from this area, he's a lot of fun to watch, and I appreciate he'll do some of the dirty work. It feels like for Tatum sometimes, and Tatum playing on another level. I feel like the MVP gonna come down to him and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Maybe Luka, but I don't like Luka, so I'm going with Shai or Jason Tatum up there. I think that'd be cool to see. But so these 4 games for the Hawks, man, like these are important. Like, not saying we got to win all 4, but it feels like we at least got to go 3-1 and a 4-game winning streak heading into the last couple months of the season. We'll just go a long way in setting the right tone, showing that, hey, we ain't messing around. The Hawks got back-to-back games with the Nets, too. So make that 5 wins in a row. So we need 5 wins in a row, because then after that, we're going to be in Madison Square Garden on March 5th. That's a big one. The Knicks right now are a tough team. Like, they're on the rise in the East. Getting their super fan Stephen A. Smith talking about conference finals. And honestly, I think there's a chance that happens. But that's going to be 4 or 5 big games. Because then game number 6 after the break is in the Mecca of hoop. Spike Lee going to be talking trash at half court. And more important, Julius Randle is going to be beasting out. The fans are going to be saying some mean things. Because Trae Young did that mean thing and beat their ass back on the way to the conference finals that year. And, maybe we can use this. This could be a game, playing on this stage can awaken that in Trae and take us to put him in villain mode. Let's go 6 straight. It'd be a great way to start out. But, hey, so the 4 and 5, that's the important ones. Just put up a fight in that one. But if we can, come out of that first 6-game little stretch 5-1, at worst 4-2, then it makes this team relevant again. Because like I said, if this team stays at 10, or especially if they fall out of that, then everybody's gone. They'll trade at least Trae or DeJounte, maybe both, just to get a crazy package of picks. But you got to be careful. I don't want to see that happen as a fan. Number one, I like to watch these dudes play ball. Trae Young, Jalen Johnson, DeJounte Murray, all of them. The starters, not like I still don't understand the Garrison Matthews trade. He's had some defense, but I'd rather see AJ Griffin out there than Garrison Matthews. Patty Mills, feel like that they're starting to move on from that experiment a little bit, using him, unless Trae or DeJounte's hurt. Wesley Matthews has been hurt part of the time and hasn't really played consistently otherwise. But still, why the hell is AJ Griffin not playing? It's been cool to see Kobe Buffkin get some minutes. Maybe Mo Gay gets in there at some point. But this team, man, you don't want to blow it up, because you blow it all up, and then you end up like the Pistons with 8 wins and 46 losses, and just sitting at the bottom for a few years. Felt like this was going to be a year. Maybe the Pistons made some steps. They have not. The Spurs, now they're getting out of that. They got Wemby and they got some extra picks from us. People saying we should trade Trae. And I want some Rudy Gobert value in exchange for Trae. I may be asking for a lot. As people are saying 3 first-round picks and some guys, I'll say 4 first-round picks and some guys. Fuck that noise. The potential Trae brings. But I don't think they should even think about that unless shit really goes south this year. And it seems like it's his fault. There was the Trae talks last year going into the playoffs. Seemed like a weird time to have that shit leak. But whatever. But you don't want to blow it, because then you go from like fighting for the middle to just struggling at the bottom. And right now, even if we did have a terrible rest of the season, still wouldn't be guaranteed a high draft pick. It'd be like a mid-high at best. But, in some ways it'd be nice to start over with a bunch of picks, but then you got to start development all over again. And these picks are hit or miss sometimes. You don't know. College to the pros doesn't always transfer. Sometimes guys are better than college. Sometimes they're worse. Sometimes they just kind of stay the same. You just don't know. Everybody's different. All situations are different. But right now, the Hawks, they're in a place where they can still make a run. Lost the last two. Still, though, had won 6 of the last 10 going into the stretch. The Bulls right ahead of us. They're just not a team that you're like scared of. DeRozan, Levine, these guys are ballers, especially DeRozan. But, they've dealt with a lot of injuries, a lot of inconsistencies this year around them. And even Miami and Orlando both feels like teams we could reach. They both have, won lately. Miami 6 of the last 10, like us. Magic 7 of the last 10. But those are teams we can reach. Philadelphia is a team, if they continue to fall more than likely, I think there's only so much Tyrese Maxey and these guys can do. Like absence of Joel Embiid, just one of the most impactful players out there. And they're coming into the break. They've lost 7 of their last 10, just like the Bucks. While the Boston Celtics, the hottest team in the East, they've won 6 in a row, 8 of the last 10. Cleveland, not far behind, has won 9 of the last 10. Nobody else, from 3 to 6, has a winning record in their last 10 games. At the bottom, of course, Washington trying to catch up with Detroit. They're on an 8-game losing streak. Detroit's lost 3 in a row. Only won 3 of their last 10. 8 and 9 wins for those teams. Spurs and the Blazers both lost 8 of the last 10 at the bottom of the West. 6 in a row for Portland. But Spurs, you got to feel like they're not going to be at the bottom for long. You can have another good draft pick to pair up with Wemby, and Wemby going to just take over the league, probably. Utah's lost 4 in a row, so that's the team we should beat. Dallas has won 6 in a row. They're the hottest in the West right now. Minnesota not far behind. They have won 4 in a row and 7 of the last 10. Be interesting to see what happens in the West. Because you look, there's a 6-game differential between 1 and 2 in the East. In the West, OKC's a game and a half behind the Timberwolves at the top. The Clippers are a half a game behind the Thunder. The Nuggets are number 4. The defending NBA champions are only even though they're the 4th seed, they're only 3 games behind the 1. 1 game behind the 3. Then the Suns and the Pelicans. Both these teams won 7 of the last 10 games before the All-Star break. Sitting there to tie the 5 and 6 seed, and they're only 6 games behind the 1. So, 1 to 6 could totally change. And even then, you go into the play-in territory. The Mavericks, with their win streak, they're only 7 games behind the Wolves and 1 game behind the 5 and the 6 seed. The Kings are only a half a game behind the Mavericks. So really, you look at 1 to 4, 5 to 8. That's some heat right there. And even the Lakers, 2 games behind the Spurs. The Golden State Warriors with the best shooters of all time. They're in the 10 seed 11 games out. They're the 10 seed like the Hawks, but the Hawks are 9 games. 19 games. We're 9 games worse in the behind ratio. We're 19 behind the Celtics. And the Spurs, the Warriors, they got a winning record as a 10 seed. We're 7 below. So while maybe, the better team is at the top and the number 1 team is in the East, just the competition is a lot better. In the West, there are some close spots in the East. But right, you got a battle for second. You got the battle for, 4th and 5th. 6 kind of close too. But the Hawks have put themselves in the conversation, but they've got some work to do. So, hey, I'm hopeful, though. Especially if we can get Okongwu or especially both, we get both Okongwu and Capella back. We can keep DeAndre Hunter, Jalen Johnson healthy. I think Trae Young and DeJounte Murray, Jalen Johnson, these guys can find a way, put themselves in that playoff conversation. But it has to start on Friday. We have to send Toronto home disappointed. And we have to keep winning. Like the Hawks, 4-5 game winning streak needs to happen right out the gate. Maybe 6. Say, take that, Mecca. Take that, Madison Square Garden. But that we got to win some other games too. And those first 3, there's some winning opportunities. Definitely those first 4 or 5 games. Even the Magic, a tough team. Hawks have shown they can beat them in Atlanta for sure. But, you can't take Jalen Suggs, Paulo Banchero and company lightly at all. And either way, that's all I got to say for today. Check in tomorrow. I'm going to try and talk about the Braves tomorrow. I haven't really talked about the Braves yet. Of course, Ronald Acuna Jr. kind of putting the team, it seemed like, quietly and politely on notice a little bit. So we'll try to have a Braves episode. Maybe see if anything develops with the Panthers. Free agency not going to start for, I think, a couple weeks. I think it's the beginning of March. So not going to be anything really happening on that front until they decide, if they're going to put the franchise tag on Brian Burns. But tomorrow, I'll try to talk. This will be the goal. We'll have a Braves-focused episode with maybe a touch of Panthers. See if any NBA news happens to pop off. If so, I'll slip that in the conversation. But for now, I am done. Babbling Brooks signing all the way the F off. This is me saying to all of you, peace out.